He approached an alien girl to ask something. She ran away screaming, "A human, a human!" The marketplace of Nyx Prime buzzed with the vibrant chaos that only a trading hub at the edge of charted space could generate. Vendors hawked exotic wares from a dozen systems, their voices competing with the hum of hovercrafts and the occasional screech of a patino beast. But through this sensory overload moved Kira. Her deep indigo skin a stark contrast against the pale bodysuit that hugged her slender form. She weaved through the crowd with practiced ease, her platinum blonde hair bobbing with each step. The cutouts along the sides of her outfit offered glimpses of her toned physique, practical for the planet's humid climate, but also fashionable among the younger Nyxians. Kira called a merchant with forearms and rust-cold scales. "I've got those star fruit preserves you like." She waved but didn't stop. "Tomorrow, Drell, I'm running late." The truth was she wasn't late for anything, but today was her day off from the archives and she wanted to enjoy every moment of freedom before returning to dusty records and the stern gaze of Archivist Prell. The old man treated the historical documents like his own children, particularly the ancient warnings about the mythical humans. Kira almost snorted at the thought. Every Nyxian child grew up hearing tales of these supposed terrors from beyond the void, ruthless conquerors with unmatched savagery and strange alien bodies, but in all her 23 cycles no one had ever produced a shred of evidence that humans were anything more than folklore designed to frighten younglings into obedience. "Don't stay out after dark or the humans might get you," she mimicked, her mother's voice in her head, rolling her eyes at the memory, lost in thought. She didn't notice the commotion ahead until she nearly collided with a stationary Grelin. The massive furry being was staring at something, its four eyes wide with alarm. "What's happening?" she asked, standing on tiptoes to see past the crowd that had formed. The grain's translator crackled. "Outsider, strange one." Curiosity piqued Kira. Squeezed between two spectators and froze. Standing in a small clearing amid the crowd was a being unlike any she'd ever seen, tall and powerfully built, with skin of pale beige pink and close-cropped chestnut hair. He wore simple garments, a dark gray upper covering and blue lower coverings of some coarse material. His face was partially covered with short facial hair, and his eyes were scanning the crowd with obvious confusion, occasionally glancing at a small device in his hand. Something about him triggered a primal recognition in Kira's mind. The ancient texts, the warning illustrations, the descriptions passed down through generations. "Excuse me," the being said, his voice deep and strangely accented as he approached her. "I'm trying to find the local authorities. My ship had a malfunction." And when his hand touched her shoulder, reality crashed into place. A human male. The scream tore from her throat before she could stop it, her hand flying to her cheek in horror. A human male. The effect was immediate. The crowd recoiled like a single organism, gasps and shouts erupting as parents grabbed children and merchants abandoned their wares. The human's expression shifted from confusion to alarm. "Wait, I just need..." But Kira was already running, her heart hammering against her ribs. Behind her she heard the shrill wail of security alarms activating throughout the marketplace. The city guard would be mobilizing, hunting the dangerous outsider. She didn't stop running until she reached a quiet alley 3 blocks away, where she collapsed against a wall, gasping for breath as her pulse gradually slowed. The first tendrils of doubt crept into her mind. The human hadn't attacked her. He'd seemed lost, confused, even not at all like the bloodthirsty monsters of legend who supposedly tore their enemies limb from limb and consumed their still beating hearts. From the main street came the sound of heavy boots and the crackling of energy weapons being primed. The city guard was conducting a sweep, their commander's voice booming through amplifiers. "Attention all citizens, a dangerous alien intruder has been spotted in the central marketplace. Remain in your homes or current locations. This being is considered extremely dangerous. If sighted, do not approach. Report immediately to the nearest security officer." Kira appeared around the corner and saw a squad of guards in full tactical gear moving methodically through the street. Their weapons were set to lethal, not stun. A cold weight settled in her stomach. What had she done? The human had only tried to speak to her, and now he was being hunted like a dangerous animal. But what if the legends were true? What if humans really were the merciless killers of the ancient warnings? What if she just doomed them all by allowing one into their midst? As the guards passed her hiding spot, Kira made a decision. She had to know the truth, and there was only one place in Nyx Prime where she might find it. The restricted archives, where the oldest and most detailed accounts of human encounters were kept. If the human truly was dangerous, she needed to confirm it, and if he wasn't, she pushed away from the wall, determination replacing fear. Either way, she had just become part of something much bigger than herself, and there was no turning back now. Kira's mind raced as she Slip through the narrow alleyways of Nix Prime. The archives would have to wait. She needed to move quickly before the guards locked down the entire district. The human couldn't have gotten far, not with security barriers activating throughout the city. A commotion ahead made her freeze. 3 guards were methodically searching a row of storage units, their energy rifles humming with lethal potential. Commander says, shoot on sight, one guard muttered. Can you believe it? No containment protocol, no questioning, just elimination. You've read the ancient warning, another replied. Humans are too dangerous to risk capture. Remember what happened to the Krellian colony? That's just stories to scare younglings. The third scoffed, though his voice betrayed uncertainty. Kira pressed herself against the wall, waiting for them to move on. The casual discussion of execution sent a chill through her body. What if the legends were wrong? What if she'd condemned an innocent traveler to death because of childhood fears? Once the guards disappeared around a corner, she continued through the maze of back streets heading toward the spaceport. If she were a stranded visitor, that's where she'd try to return. As she passed a narrow service corridor between 2 buildings, a strong hand suddenly clamped over her mouth. Where I'm pulling her into the shadows. Panic exploded in her chest as she found herself pressed against a solid chest. A familiar voice whispering urgently in her ear, please don't scream again, I'm not going to hurt you. The human, his body radiated heat against her back, his breath warm against her neck. Every instinct screamed for her to fight, to call for help, but something else, something she couldn't name, made her stay still. Slowly he removed his hand from her mouth. Kira turned to face him, their bodies still uncomfortably close in the narrow space up close. His features were even more alien, yet strangely not as frightening as she'd expected. His eyes were a deep brown, watching her with wary intelligence. You're the one who started this manhunt, he said, not accusingly but with a hint of exasperation. Any particular reason why? Kira swallowed hard. You're human. He raised an eyebrow. Last time I checked, yes. Name's Christian Davis, Lieutenant, Earth Exploratory Forces. He extended a hand, then awkwardly withdrew it when she flinched. Sorry, human custom. I'm Kira, she replied, surprised at her own calm. And you shouldn't be here. They're going to kill you. I gathered that much. Christian peered cautiously around the corner. My ship had a navigation malfunction, dropped out of FTL in your system. I was just looking for parts or assistance. He looked back at her. Why does everyone here want me dead? The question hung between them, heavy with implications. Kira felt a strange sensation in her chest, shame perhaps, or the disorienting feeling of a worldview beginning to crack. Our history say humans are a dangerous conquerors. Killer. She studied his face, searching for signs of the monster she'd been taught to fear. Are you? A flash of hurt crossed his features, followed by a smile. I'm an explorer and xenobiologist. The most dangerous thing I've done this month is eat my own cooking. Despite herself, Kira felt her lips twitch upward. The human Christian had a strange way of speaking, but there was something disarmingly genuine about him. The city guards have set up checkpoints at all major intersections, she said, making a decision she hoped wouldn't get them both killed, but I know ways through the maintenance tunnels I can help you reach. The spaceport Christian's expression shifted to surprise, then cautious gratitude. Why would you help me now? Because Kira hesitated, uncertain herself. Because I might have been wrong, and I don't want your death on my conscience if I am. He nodded slowly. Fair enough, lead the way. They moved through the city's underbelly using service corridors and maintenance tunnels that Kira had discovered during her adolescent explorations. Every shadow made her jump, every distant voice, and her heart racing. Yet with each passing moment in Christian's company, her fear of him specifically diminished. So, Christian whispered as they paused at a junction waiting for a patrol to pass, your people really think humans eat alien hearts or something? Among other things, Kira admitted feeling increasingly foolish. The ancient texts say humans conquered half the galaxy before disappearing thousands of cycles ago. Christian frowned. That's not accurate. We only achieved interstellar travel about 2 centuries ago by your calendar. Their eyes met in the dim light, and Kira felt a strange flutter in her chest that had nothing to do with fear. There was something compelling about him, his calm confidence, the intelligence in his eyes, even the alien contours of his face. She found herself noticing the strong line of his jaw, the breadth of his shoulders. We should keep moving, she said quickly, disturbed by the direction of her thoughts. As they continued their careful progress toward the spaceport, Kira became increasingly aware of Christian's presence, the sound of his breathing, the warmth radiating from his body when they squeezed through narrow passages, the occasional brush of his hand against hers. Each contact sent an unexpected thrill through her system. Almost there, she whispered, pointing to a maintenance hatch ahead that leads to the cargo area. Of the spaceport your ship should be, the words died in her throat as light suddenly flooded the tunnel behind them. A squad of guards had appeared, weapons raised, step away from the human citizen. The commander ordered. He's controlling your mind. Christian raised his hand slowly. Nobody's controlling anyone. I'm just a lost traveler. Silence. Beast. The commander's weapon hummed as it charged. We know what your kind is capable of. In that moment Kira made her choice. She stepped in front of Christian, arms spread wide. He's not what our legends say, she declared, her voice steadier than she felt. I've been with him and he's harmed no one. Our ancestors were wrong or lying. The commander's eyes narrowed. Move aside, citizen. This is your final warning. Behind her Christian whispered urgently, Kara, don't do this. It's not worth your life. But something had changed inside her, a certainty that transcended the fear she'd been raised with. Whatever happened next, she couldn't let them kill him based on myths and misunderstandings. If you want him, she said, lifting her chin defiantly, you'll have to go through me. Final warning, step aside. The commander's finger tightened on the trigger. Time seemed to slow. Kira stood her ground, heart hammering against her ribs, certain she was about to die, defending a being she'd been taught to fear her entire life. Then everything happened at once. Christian moved with impossible speed. One moment he was behind her, the next he was a blur of motion. Before the guards could react, he had closed the distance between them. His movements were precise, controlled, almost graceful. The first guard's weapon clattered to the floor. The second found himself pinned against the wall, disarmed without apparent effort. The third managed to fire, but Christian somehow shifted the energy blast, missing him by millimeters. Within seconds all 5 guards lay unconscious on the tunnel floor, not dead. Kira could see their chests rising and falling, but completely incapacitated. Christian stood among them, breathing slightly faster but otherwise unruffled. He turned to her, his expression a mixture of resignation and concern. I didn't want to do that, he said quietly, but they left me no choice. Kira stared at him, mouth agape. How did you? That's not possible. We need to move. He gently took her arm. More will come. She allowed him to guide her through the maintenance hatch, her mind reeling. The human had moved faster than any being she'd ever seen, with strength and precision that seemed supernatural, yet he'd been careful not to seriously harm the guards. A bloodthirsty monster wouldn't have shown such restraint. They emerged into the spaceport's cargo area, ducking behind stacked containers as security drones buzzed overhead. My ship's in docking bay 14, Christian whispered. If we can reach it, I can get us out of here. Us? Kira's voice cracked. I can't leave Nyx Prime. My life is here. Christian's eyes softened. After what you just did, they'll arrest you for treason, possibly worse. The realization hit her like a physical blow. She had publicly defied security forces and defended a dangerous alien. There would be no returning to her quiet life at the archives now. What are you? She asked, studying his face. What I just saw. That's why our ancestors feared humans, isn't it? Christian sighed, running a hand through his short hair. It's complicated. Humans evolved on a high-gravity world with extreme environmental pressures. We're stronger, faster, and more durable than we look. He met her gaze directly. But we're not conquerors or monsters. We're explorers. Scientists, peacekeepers. A security announcement blared through the spaceport. Attention all personnel. Human intruder detected in cargo sector 3. Full lockdown initiated. Lethal force authorized. We need to move, Christian said, scanning their surroundings. Stay close to me. They slipped between cargo containers, avoiding patrols and security cameras. Kira found herself studying Christian's movements, the fluid economy of his motion, the controlled power in his limbs. What she had initially mistaken for ordinary athletic build was clearly something more. If humans are peaceful explorers, she whispered as they paused behind a fuel depot, why do our histories paint you as galaxy-conquering monsters? I don't know, Christian admitted. But it's not the first time we've encountered species with distorted records of human contact. Someone's been systematically spreading misinformation about us. Their eyes met in the dim light, and Kira felt that strange flutter again. Stronger now, a warmth spreading through her chest and into regions she'd rather not acknowledge. There was something undeniably attractive about him, something that transcended species. The way he moved, the intelligence in his eyes, the gentle strength in his hands. There's my ship, Christian whispered, pointing to a sleek vessel unlike any Kira had seen before. Its hull gleamed with a material that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. They waited for a patrol to pass, then sprinted across the open tarmac. Christian placed his palm against the ship's hull and a doorway materialized. Biometric security, he explained with a small smile. Come on. Inside, the ship was compact but elegant, with curved surfaces and intuitive controls. Christian moved to the pilot's seat, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. They've locked down the bay doors, he muttered. This might get bumpy. Kira strapped herself into the co-pilot's seat, watching in fascination as Christian communicated with the ship in a language she didn't recognize. The vessel hummed to life around them. "Hold on," he warned just as the exterior cameras showed armed guards rushing into the bay. The ship rose smoothly, hovering several meters above the ground. The bay doors remained firmly shut, but Christian didn't seem concerned. He pressed a sequence of controls and the ship changed. The hull shimmered, becoming translucent, then seemingly permeable. "Phase shift technology," he explained, noticing her wide-eyed stare. "We can briefly exist slightly out of sync with normal matter." The ship accelerated forward, passing through the solid bay doors as if they were mist. Kira gasped, instinctively reaching out to grab Christian's arm. Her fingers closed around solid muscle, and the contact sent an electric thrill through her body. Once clear of the spaceport, the ship shot upward rapidly, leaving Nix Prime's atmosphere behind. The blue-green curve of her home world filled the view screen, then diminished as they accelerated away. "I've never left the planet before," Kira whispered, struck by the sight. Christian turned to her, his expression softening. "I'm sorry it had to be like this." In the quiet of the ship, with the stars spreading out before them and the adrenaline of their escape still coursing through her veins, Kira became acutely aware of their proximity, of the warmth of his skin beneath her fingers still resting on his arm, of the way his eyes reflected the starlight. "You saved my life," she said softly, "after I nearly got you killed. You stood between me and armed guards," he countered. "I'd say we're even." Something shifted in the atmosphere between them, a tension that had nothing to do with danger and everything to do with the magnetic pull she felt toward this alien man, her people's oldest taboo. Yet in this moment, the most natural thing in the universe. When Christian leaned forward hesitantly, giving her every opportunity to pull away, Kira made her choice. She met him halfway, her lips finding his in a kiss that sent shock waves through her system. His mouth was warmer than Onyxian's, his scent intoxicatingly foreign, his touch igniting sensations she'd never experienced. They broke apart, both breathing faster. Christian looked as surprised as she felt, his eyes dark with desire but also questioning. "I've never," Kira began, then stopped, unsure how to express what she was feeling. "Neither have I," Christian admitted with a small laugh. "Not with someone from another species." The ship's computer chimed, breaking the moment. Christian reluctantly turned back to the controls. "We're being pursued," he said, his voice regaining its professional edge. 3 patrol ships, heavily armed." Kira looked at the tactical display, fear returning. "Can we outrun them?" Christian's lips curved into a confident smile that made her heart skip. "Oh, they haven't seen what this ship can really do. Hold on tight, things are about to get interesting." "Engaging cloaking system," Christian announced, his fingers dancing across the control panel. The ship shuddered slightly, then the exterior view changed. The stars remained visible, but a faint shimmer surrounded them, like viewing the universe through rippling water. "They can't see us now," Christian explained, his voice carrying a hint of pride. "Human stealth technology, were completely invisible to their sensors." Kira watched in amazement as the pursuing patrol ships slowed their search patterns, becoming erratic as they lost track of their quarry. "That's incredible," she whispered. Christian smiled, the expression transforming his face in a way that made her pulse quicken. "One of many technologies we've developed for exploration rather than conquest, makes first contact with potentially hostile species a lot safer. Except when the alien screams and runs away," Kira said with a rueful smile. He laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "Well, there's always room for improvement in our approach." Their eyes met, and that electric tension returned, humming between them like a physical force. Christian cleared his throat and turned back to the controls. "I'm setting course for Outpost Horizon," he said. "It's a small human research station in the next system. Will be safe there while we figure out our next steps." The ship accelerated smoothly, stars stretching into brilliant streaks as they entered FTL travel. Kira marveled at the technology, faster and more elegant than anything her people possessed. "How long until we arrive?" "We know," she asked. "About 3 hours." Christian stood, stretching in a way that emphasizes powerful physique. "Would you like something to eat?" The synthesizer can replicate most species' dietary requirements in the small galley area. Christian produced a meal that approximated Nishian cuisine, not perfect but impressively close. They sat across from each other at a compact table, the strange intimacy of sharing food adding another layer to their rapidly evolving relationship. "So," Kira said, taking a sip of a beverage that tasted almost like fermented nectar, "tell me about this outpost. We're heading to Horizon is primarily a research station," Christian explained. "About 30% Personnel studying stellar phenomena and monitoring communications in this sector. It's not on any official charts. We maintain several such outposts in regions where human presence might cause complications like mass panic. Kira suggested wryly. He smiled. Exactly. We've learned to be cautious after encounters like the one on your world. But why would someone spread lies about humans? Kira pressed. What purpose would it serve? Christian's expression grew serious. That's what we've been trying to figure out. The pattern is too consistent to be coincidental. Someone or something has been systematically poisoning multiple species against humanity. The implication sent a chill through Kira. You think there's a third party manipulating both our peoples? We have theories, Christian said carefully. At Horizon you'll meet Commander Liliana. She's been leading the investigation into this historical revisionism. Their conversation drifted to lighter topics: cultural differences, personal histories, the strange coincidences of parallel evolution that had produced such similar body structures despite their different origins. Christian explained human customs and expressions, his eyes crinkling with amusement at Kira's confusion over idioms like raining cats and dogs and barking up the wrong tree. In turn she described Nishian traditions, the seasonal festivals and coming-of-age rituals that marked their society. With each exchange the gap between their worlds narrowed, fear giving way to fascination. When their meal was finished, Christian showed her to the ship's small sleeping quarters. You can rest here, he said, standing awkwardly in the doorway. I'll take the pilot's chair. Kira looked at the narrow bunk, then back at Christian. The air between them seemed to thicken, charged with unspoken possibilities. I'm not tired, she said softly. Christian swallowed visibly. Kira, this is complicated. Our species, son, are more alike than different, she finished, taking a step toward him, at least in the ways that matter right now. His eyes darkened, pupils dilating in a way that her instincts recognized. Across the species barrier, when she placed a hand on his chest, she could feel his heart racing beneath her palm. Just like hers. What followed was a discovery of similarities and differences, his skin warmer than hers, her sensitivity to touch in places that surprised him, both of them finding their way through an intimate dance that transcended their different origins. Their connection was tender, passionate, and surprisingly natural, as if their bodies had been designed to complement each other despite evolving on worlds light years apart. Afterward, lying in the comfortable tangle of limbs, Kira traced patterns on Christian's chest, marveling at the alliness that now felt so familiar. On my world, she murmured, this would be considered the ultimate taboo, intimacy with the monster from the stars. Christian caught her hand, bringing it to his lips, and on mine it would be the ultimate proof that we're not so different after all. A soft chime from the ship's computer interrupted the moment Christian reluctantly disentangled himself, pulling dull metallic black that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Vex hunters, Christian muttered. Hold on tight. The ship accelerated away from the station, but two of the Vex vessels broke formation to pursue them, energy weapons lanced out, narrowly missing as Christian executed a series of evasive maneuvers that pushed the ship's inertial dampeners to their limits. Can we outrun them? Kira asked, gripping her seat as the ship lurched. Not conventionally, Christian replied, his focus absolute as his hands danced across the controls. But I have something they won't expect. He activated a sequence that made the ship shudder. For a moment Kira thought they'd been hit, then she realized the stars outside had changed. They were no longer in normal space dimensional shift drive. Christian explained, a hint of pride in his voice despite the tension. We're slightly out of phase with normal spacing. They can't track or target us. Now the pursuing vessels fell behind, their weapons firing uselessly at where the ship had been. Kira released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. That was, she began. Not over yet, Christian cut in. This state is temporary, and when we revert to normal space they'll be waiting. We need a plan. Their eyes met, and despite the danger, Kira felt that now familiar warmth bloom in her chest. This man, this human, had upended her entire worldview in less than a day, and yet she trusted him completely. Then let's make one, she said with newfound determination, because I'm not letting the Vex continue their manipulation of my people, not now that I know the truth. Christian's serious expression gave way to a smile that made her heart race for reasons entirely unrelated to their perilous situation. That's the spirit, he said. Humanity and Nixians working together, exactly what the Vex have been trying to prevent for millennia. His hand found hers, squeezing gently, and I think they're right to be afraid of what we can accomplish together. The double meaning wasn't lost on Kira, who returned his smile with one of her own. Whatever came next, they would face it together, a partnership that defied ancient manipulations and crossed the stars. The dimensional shift drive disengaged with a soft pulse, returning Christian's ship to normal space at the edge of the Nexian system. The familiar Blue-green sphere of Nyx Prime hung in the distance, deceptively peaceful against the backdrop of Star's home. Kira murmured, her feelings conflicted. Just days ago she'd never left the system. Now she returned with knowledge that would shatter her people's understanding of their own history. Christian ran a series of passive scans, his expression growing increasingly troubled. Something's wrong. The orbital traffic patterns are regimented too perfect. Kira leaned forward, studying the display. The usual chaotic dance of merchant vessels and passenger shuttles had been replaced by methodical, almost mechanical movements. That's not normal, she confirmed. Nyxian space traffic is typically more improvised. Vex influence, Christian said grimly. They must have accelerated their timeline after we escaped. The question is, how deep does the infiltration go? They approached cautiously, using a merchant vessel's transponder codes that Christian had in his database. To Kira's surprise, they were cleared for landing without question, a troubling sign in itself given that planetary security should have been on high alert after their escape. They don't know we're coming, she realized, or they want us to land. Either way, we use it to our advantage. Christian set the ship down at a secondary spaceport on the outskirts of the capital, away from the main security checkpoints. We need to identify who's been compromised and who's still organic. The word sent a shiver through Kira. The idea that some of her people might have been replaced by synthetic duplicates was horrifying. As they prepared to disembark, Christian pulled her into a storage compartment, retrieving a small case. Inside were two devices that resembled simple wristbands. Subdermal biome monitors, he explained, securing one around her wrist. They'll vibrate when they detect the electromagnetic signature of Vex technology. The closer you get to a synthetic, the stronger the vibration is. Fingers lingered on her skin, the touch sending a now familiar warmth through her body. Despite the danger of their situation, their eyes met, and for a moment the mission faded into the background. Christian, she began, her voice soft. If we don't make it, he silenced her with a kiss, brief but